Hi everybody, Tim Schneider with Aegis Learning, and welcome back to our Leading Edge and our ongoing series about understanding our DiSC assessments at a little bit deeper level and understanding what kind of makes that work. Now today is an interesting one. Today is about decision making and conflict. All of those styles, D, I, S, and C, deal with conflict not a little differently, but dramatically differently. First, let's talk about decision making. So all of the styles make decisions in a little bit different way. D's, very, very quick, and even though they don't like the word, they're very emotional decision makers. Now, the word they'll use is it's a gut reaction. I felt it. I believe that was the way to go. They make decisions very quickly. That, interestingly enough, that'll come into play when we talk about conflict in just a second too. I's are also very quick decision makers, and they too are very emotional decision makers. They will use words like, well, that's what my heart told me to do. That's where my heart drove me. S's are more methodical, and interesting thing with them. Even though they do not make quick decisions, they tend to kind of combine a logical approach and an emotional approach, almost half and half. They do have a tendency to overthink things. C's, almost 100% logically driven. In fact, they tend to completely move the emotion out of all of decision-making processes and focus very much on the, kind of individual piece there of what's going on. And they can tend to get stuck in gathering information, trying to get 100% of the information to eliminate all risk or eliminate all chance of errors associated with something. And they also have a propensity, a pretty high propensity for overthinking as well. Now, again, all of those are different, but none of them is right or wrong. They are all very much okay and all very much valued. Now let's talk about conflict for a minute. D's in conflict use a win-lose approach, meaning if a D is looking at it as a win-lose situation, they're looking at everybody else as the potential loser. They want to win in that conflict. And I know that sounds scary, but they're not really that hard to deal with. The other driving factor with D's in conflict is a need for immediate resolution. They tend to force conflict issues. They'll come into somebody's office and say, hey, we need to talk about this right now. This, and this. They'll call their significant other and say, we need to talk about this right now. They need an immediacy of resolution. To deal with a D in conflict, first of all, you got to kind of allow them a little bit of time to vent, get rid of some of that emotion, and in some cases, anger and hyper-aggressiveness, and give them as much of the immediacy as you possibly can. Don't push them out weeks and days and all kinds of stuff. You know what? At the most, push it off for just a little bit of time until they can cool down a little bit. The other strategy with an I, or a D rather, is to give them some early kind of victories. Give them something that they're right about. You're right on this. This one, you're absolutely spot on. And that'll make every other issue associated in the conflict much easier to negotiate and easier to get through. I's in conflict are ultimate peacemakers. They want everybody around them to kind of be happy, so they really don't like conflict at all. And unfortunately, a lot of times their needs get overlooked. So what you have to do with an I, so they don't shut down, and I's will say things like, oh, no, you're right, when in reality, you're not. What you have to do is work hard to draw out their needs. No, really tell me, what is it you need? Tell me what you're looking for in this situation. Tell me how you're seeing this situation. And also work very hard to make it safe with them too. S's in conflict are ultimate conflict avoiders. They will do anything to avoid anything that even remotely smells like conflict. In fact, in their heads, they often make up conflict situations where there's really no potential that one would exist. So a lot like an I, you have to work hard to draw out what their needs are. And with an S especially, you have to work very hard to make it safe and stay away from any emotional hypercharge associated with it. You know, at sign of any kind of assertiveness or aggression, they're going to shut down. So you got to be very careful, stay very low key, and although this technique does not work 100% of the time, it does have some value with them. Give them a little bit of warning. Allow them to think and process what the discussion, the conflict is going to be about and like. So say things like, you know what, I'd like to talk to you about this on Thursday. And here's what we're going to talk about. Don't force it with them. I got to tell you, if you walk in and say, hey, we got to talk about this now and this, and this, that is a shutdown. You're not going to get anything from them. C's are the most interesting and in some cases the most challenging to deal with conflict. C's have the highest dislike of being wrong. And they will go to great depths to explain their position, in some cases using kind of a tidal wave effect of just, you know, kind of burying you in justification and data and spreadsheets and facts and everything else. And please remember, they are 100% logically driven. So you cannot use any of the emotion words. You know, you can't say things like, well, I feel like, or I believe, or I think. Those words are not going to resonate with a C. You got to stay incredibly, incredibly factual with them. And here's my biggest advice with the C. Make sure your data is absolutely 100% accurate. Don't challenge them for the sake of challenging them. Certainly don't challenge them and say, I don't feel like that's right. You got to trust, man, that they did their homework and what they're presenting is probably high likelihood right and accurate. And do be prepared too. I mean, as you engage them in conflict, they will come back to you with multiple pieces of data and information, oftentimes just so they can carry the day and demonstrate that they're right. I would, like with a D, give them some early, you're right kind of victories out there, and always stay low key and out of that emotion.